So, we have been talking about how body cells divide, but what about sex cells? Don't you know sex cells? Get it? Haha. But really, when we're talking about how sex cells divide, when we're talking about egg cells and sperm cells, it's a slightly different process. The opposite of somatic cells, which we know now are body cells, are called gamete cells, and those are our sex cells. That would be the egg cell and the sperm cell. The formation of making these cells is called, is called meiosis. There is a sperm cell, and that's actually an egg cell that's being fertilized by a sperm cell. For females, every egg cell undergoes meiosis from one germ cell, which is the ovaries. And in males, sperm cells undergo meiosis from germ cells, which is in the testes. When an egg cell and a sperm cell fuse together, this is called fertilization, and a fertilized egg cell is now called a zygote. I'm sorry that cut off, but it says, why do sperm and egg cells have to go through meiosis instead of mitosis? If sex cells went through the same process as somatic cell division, when fertilization occurred, the resulting cells would have 4 sets of chromosomes, and that would be way too many. It would not be a diploid cell anymore, it would be called polyploidy, and that would actually lead to lots of problems for the growing organism. So instead, gametes have to go through this process of meiosis where it actually halves the number of chromosomes. So a gamete cell that has undergone meiosis is haploid. Gamete cells are haploid, and haploid means they have 1 set of chromosomes. And I remember this because haploid to me sounds like half, and that's half of what a regular diploid body cell would have. So an example, humans have 46 chromosomes in their somatic cells. That means a fertilized egg, which will eventually develop into a baby, should start out with 46 chromosomes. So that means the sex cells need to have half of that amount of chromosomes in them. So sperm have 23 chromosomes, and the egg cells also have 23 chromosomes. So if you have a sperm with 23 and an egg cell with 23 chromosomes, then the zygote should have 46 chromosomes per cell. When we're talking about the process of meiosis, it actually has to go through 2 divisions. Remember, mitosis only divided 1 time, so meiosis is going to split 2 times. Interphase has to occur first, so the DNA replicates before meiosis begins, so that every chromosome is replicated before the process starts. The first division splits the pairs of chromosomes, and then the second division splits those chromosomes in half. So remember I said that replicated chromosomes are sister chromatids and they look like an X shape. So the second division splits those in half. So the result is 4 daughter cells, each with half the number of chromosomes. Gamete cells are haploid, so they only have 1 set of chromosomes. It's really important that you know that. A large amount of animals and plants reproduce sexually, which means 2 individuals combine their genes to produce offspring with unique gene combinations. For examples, humans reproduce sexually. No, unfortunately, we can't clone ourselves. I know sometimes we wish we could, but we can't. But if diploid cells, so cells that have 2 sets of chromosomes, came together during fertilization, the offspring would have way too many chromosomes. So how do sex cells go from diploid to haploid? Through the process of meiosis. And that says meiosis goes through 2 divisions. Cells that go through mitosis just divide 1 time, but cells that go through meiosis divide 2 times. They have a meiosis 1 and a meiosis 2. And before meiosis can occur, the DNA replicates, we've talked about that, so that all the chromosomes have a copy before the whole process gets started. So here we have our original cell. It's diploid. It splits once. It goes through meiosis 1. Now we have 2 haploid cells with sister chromatids stuck together. Okay, and then after that splits again, it divides, and now we have 4 haploid cells that will eventually become possibly offspring. So meiosis 1, during meiosis 1, the cell divides, but the copied sister chromosomes, so chromosomes with 2 copies, stick together. So you can see here, here's one set of chromosomes that have identical copies, and here's another set of chromosomes that have identical copies, and at the end, they have still stuck together. However, you can see in these cells, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of chromosomes in the original cell, and we only have 2 sets of chromosomes in the second, or in the resulting cells. The matching homologous chromosomes pull apart when the cell divides, so the 2 daughter cells are now haploid. In meiosis 2, during the second division, the sister chromosomes are going to pull apart. So you can see here they're lined up in the middle. And in anaphase 2, those sister chromatids pull apart. So what we get is 4 daughter cells, and each of those daughter cells have 1 set of chromosomes. The original cells have duplicated sets. The resulting 4 daughter cells each have 1 chromosome. They are no longer identical to each other. So in a human egg cell, which has 23 chromosomes, and a sperm cell also has 23 chromosomes fused during fertilization, the result is 1 fertilized diploid egg cell with 46 chromosomes, or two pairs of each chromosome. That's why sex cells have to go through meiosis. The result is 4 non-identical haploid cells. And you can see here we start out with 1, and we end up at the end of meiosis 2 with 4. And here's just another way to look at it. Excuse me. So this is actually kind of cool. This is an egg cell that is being fertilized with a sperm cell. This is, you can see the egg cell here. After that egg cell is fertilized, now we have an egg cell with 2 nuclei in it. And then this is after that egg cell has gone through that fertilized egg cell then goes through mitosis. So now we have 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells, and it becomes a great big ball of cells that will eventually become a baby. Kind of cool. So it's really important that you understand that genetic variation is possible because of sexual reproduction. Okay, genetic variation just allows us to have so many different organisms in one population. That's why all of us look so different. Okay, so it occurs because crossing over occurs in prophase 1, and that's where homologous chromosomes that have the same type of genes but maybe have different genetic information within that, switch those genes during prophase 1. When sister chromosomes are pulled apart in anaphase 1, they're going to be randomly distributed. It's called independent assortment. And then random fertilization. Whichever sperm gets to that egg cell first is going to be the one that fertilizes that egg cell. So we don't choose typically which one is going to fertilize. Okay, so that was meiosis in a nutshell. We'll definitely practice this during class, but make sure if you have any questions that you have written them down and that you ask them so we can make sure that everybody understands the same information.